Thank you, my sweet friend Liz, who we met through this macabre odyssey in a way we hadn't known before. My name is Rachel, and I will always be the mother of Hersh Goldberg-Polin. Hersh will always be my eldest child. Hersh will always be my only son. And Hersh will always be 23 years old. On behalf of my husband, John, my family, and all of the families of the hostages who were stolen on the darkest day in the history of the modern state of Israel, October 7th, 2023, I thank you, the Lantos Foundation, for this most profound recognition. What many people do not know about Hersh is that he was born in the year 2000 in California's 12th Congressional District in Berkeley, California, and that our congressman was none other than the illustrious and esteemed Tom Lantos. I have a vivid memory of being in the tiny cottage that John and I lived in when we first moved to Berkeley after we got married. And one day while I was in the kitchen, I heard from the TV in the next room the voice of a man with an accent that immediately resonated with me. You see, my grandfather, George Joseph Reinitz, was born in a town called Miskolc, which is a 2-hour drive east of Budapest in Hungary. And when I was little, that accent was warm and familiar for me because it had stayed with my Papa George's family members, embedded enduringly after they immigrated to the United States. So when I heard Representative Lantos speaking that day, suddenly I was thrust back to my childhood, hearing an older favorite aunt of mine, my Erzsa néni, with her Hungarian accent. Representative Lantos was speaking about a documentary he had participated in. I don't remember the exact details. Father Time has had his way with me. But I remember he was speaking my worldview language. He talked about having witnessed the horrors of the Holocaust, and it resulted in him becoming a human rights advocate. It impressed and struck me that Representative Lantos had risen with grace and determination from those experiences because, as we all know, when we are faced with loss, grief, and suffering, there are several paths that we human beings can take. He spoke in the most authentic and measured way, your father. I remember thinking, he speaks so full of care, carefully, and that he chose and curated his words in an intentional and specific manner. He also had that gorgeous shock of silver hair and twinkling clear blue eyes. He was elegant in how he spoke and in his carriage. And it's hard to find that combination today, that intricate nobility. And so from that day on, in 1998 in Berkeley, I became a fan of Lantos, or a Fantos. And so, when this honor was first mentioned to me, I was instantly humbled and thrilled because I have had such high regard for Representative Lantos, for Mrs. Lantos, and all that they as a team stood for together. I have also such deep respect and admiration for the great Diane Foley, who has walked the road upon which I too now tread, this bumpy, arduous, curvy, and forever road. But Diane has forged a way and taught by example how one can limp toward the light that sometimes feels elusive, but is certainly always awaiting our arrival. We are living in a time when civil discourse is in a perilous state, and the way of communicating is screaming, shouting, humiliating, name-calling, and belittling. Of course we can disagree. That is normal, it's human. It's even healthy and productive to disagree, actually, if it is done with a righteous intention. But it is tricky, arguing, debating, and quarreling, because it can be constructive or destructive. In the Jewish tradition, we call the healthy, holy approach to robust and vibrant debate, machloket l'shem shamayim, arguing for the sake of heaven. The late Rabbi Jonathan Sacks, the former chief rabbi of the UK, said that this dynamic, fearless style of dispute, one that is for the greater good, that has a goal, that goal is to get to the truth. And that hallowed form of argument, that is righteous. But the other kind of dispute is solely for the purpose of winning. And as we know, truth and winning are not always the same thing. Meaning that when we argue to elevate ourselves, to expand our understanding, to improve and illuminate the shadowy challenges in which we find ourselves, this is a sacred goal. It is something to strive for and work toward. My husband, John, and I are at the beginning of the rest of our life journey to take this challenge and loss of our beloved Hersh and to create purpose, meaning, and repair. We are just two small bereaved parents in a colossal and complicated world. I hope we can succeed. I was online trying to find the video of Representative Lantos that I mentioned before, that I had seen back in 1998. On my way down that rabbit hole, I found what I thought was a small clip of him. So I clicked on the 2-minute, 50-second clip, only to find out it was actually a 2-hour and 50-minute testimony that he was giving to the Steven Spielberg Shoah Foundation project, which was meticulously curated through the University of Southern California. I thought, okay, I'll watch 5 minutes. But I was spellbound, and I watched the entire almost 3 hours in one go, scribbling quotes along the way. In the days that followed, while reflecting and digesting what Representative Lantos shared, I kept returning to an idea expressed in the Mishnah, the Jewish oral law, when Rabbi Tarfon explains, "You are not obligated to complete the work, but neither are you allowed to neglect it." We each are obligated to do our share in this puzzling, baffling, and glorious world in which we live. John and I and the Foleys were exposed to some of the most sinister and ugly aspects of this world. I will take this package of pain, but I will not permit it, nor allow it to make me ugly. I aspire to emulate Representative Lantos. I want to take my loss, pain, and grief and to choose to walk with it down the boulevard of light and life. Perhaps I'm a foolish old dreamer, but I am certain that there are others in this room who agree, and as John Lennon taught us, we are not the only ones. Toward the end of his Holocaust testimony, Representative Lantos said something that echoed Rabbi Tarfon's words and seared into me. He said in his profound and modest way, "Mine is a minuscule contribution, but I am part of the forces of good in this world." And I thought, yes, that's what I want to be, yes. I may be small, but I want to be part of the good. May we see the return of all of our cherished hostages immediately. May we each make our minuscule contributions to a higher hallowed purpose, and may we each merit to have the wisdom to choose to be part of the forces of good in this world with endless hope and gratitude. Thank you.